Shattered glass. Olivia Reed adjusted the antique hairpin securing her grandmother's veil. The small greenhouse attached to the venue had been her sanctuary for the past hour, fitting for a botanical illustrator, whose hands were more comfortable, with pencils and paintbrushes, than the bouquet of blue hydrangeas and white roses she now clutched. 5 minutes, her sister Fiona whispered, poking her head through the glass door. You look breathtaking, Liv, Olivia smiled, smoothing the delicate, embroidered flowers on her dress. The gown was simple but elegant. Much like the illustrations she created for scientific journals, detailed but never ostentatious. At 32, she had never imagined herself here, preparing to marry someone like Dominic Westwood. Dominic, with his easy laugh and natural confidence, had swept into her life 2 years ago. When she was commissioned to create botanical illustrations for his new farm-tout restaurant, he lived in a world of noise and constant movement, so different from her quiet studio, where she spent hours perfecting the curve of a petal or the veining of a leaf. Yet somehow, they'd found balance, or so she thought. The music shifted. Hit her. Cue. Olivia took a deep breath and stepped into the aisle of the converted historic barn. Rustic wooden beams draped with greenery and twinkling lights created the enchanted forest atmosphere she'd dreamed of. 70 guests rose to their feet. Turning to watch her approach at the altar, Dominic stood tall in his tailored navy suit, his smile bright enough to light the room. Beside him, his brother and best man Thomas leaned in to say something. Olivia was close enough, now 15 feet away, to hear Dominic's response. I know, right? The old ball and chain looks good today, but I'm already counting down to the honeymoon. 2 weeks of room service and her wearing considerably less than that dress. The words landed like ice water. Olivia froze mid-step. Several guests must have heard too, because uncomfortable glances darted between them. Thomas awkwardly chuckled, his eyes widening as he noticed Olivia had heard. Dominic hadn't realized. His smile remained fixed, though confusion crossed his face as Olivia hesitated. Her father, beside her, whispered, Sweetheart, are you okay? Music played on. The officiant looked concerned. Olivia felt as if she were standing outside herself watching a terrible mistake about to happen. 2 years of moments suddenly replayed with new clarity. Dominic's jokes about being tamed at dinner parties. His dismissive, she's just being sensitive comments to friends when she'd felt hurt. The way he'd laughed when she'd shared her dream of publishing a book of her illustrations. Olivia took one more step forward, then stopped again. Her hands trembled around the bouquet stems. Liv, Dominic called, his voice tinged with impatience. She looked at him, really looked hand, saw not a partner, but someone who had never truly seen her. The person waiting at the altar was a stranger who viewed her as an accessory, not an equal. Slowly, deliberately, Olivia handed her bouquet to her startled father. She reached up and removed the veil, carefully folding it over her arm. I can't, she said, her voice quiet but clear in the hushed room. What are you doing? Dominic hissed, stepping forward. Choosing myself, Olivia replied, turning to face their guests. I'm sorry, but there won't be a wedding today. And with those words, she walked back down the aisle alone.
Ow.
The weight of confused whispers and shocked gasps following her retreat, but with each step, her spine straightened a little more. Her breath came a little easier, and somewhere beneath the pain, a small seed of relief took root. The aftermath of Truth, the Grand Oaks Hotel. Conference, room originally intended for their wedding reception, became the site of an entirely different gathering. Fiona had taken charge, informing stunned guests that the celebration was canceled. While Olivia's father settled accounts with the venue manager, Olivia sat alone in the bridal suite. Her wedding dress pooled around her like spilled moonlight. 3 soft knocks at the door preceded her mother's entrance. He's asking to speak. With you, Eleanor Reed said, her voice carefully neutral. What do you want me to tell him? That I heard him. That it wasn't just today. It was everything leading up to it. Olivia's voice was surprisingly steady. I don't think there's anything left to say. Eleanor sat beside her daughter, taking her hand. When your father and I married, my mother warned me about men who want wives, but not partners. I should have seen it sooner with Dominic. I should have too, Olivia whispered. Across the hotel, Dominic paced the groom's sweet tie, loosened, face flushed with anger and embarrassment. It was a joke, for Christ's sake. Everyone makes wedding day jokes. Thomas watched his brother with a pained expression. Dom, what you said wasn't just a joke. It was degrading. You've known me your whole life. You know I didn't mean anything by it. Maybe that's the problem, Thomas replied quietly. You never mean anything by the things you say. The door burst open as Dominic's mother entered, her usual composed demeanor fractured. Fix this, Dominic. Now. Me. She's the one who walked out. Patricia Westwood's eyes narrowed. My son, whom I raised better than this, just humiliated the woman he supposedly loves in front of everyone they care about. I heard what you said. Everyone in the first 3 rows heard what you said. Dominic's face paled. I didn't think clearly. His mother cut him off. You've spent your whole life being charming enough to get away with not thinking about how your words affect others. Not today. As evening fell, 2 families managed the debris of a celebration that never happened. Olivia changed into jeans and a sweater, her wedding dress carefully rehung. She declined staying with her parents, insisting on returning to her own apartment, the one Dominic had teased her about keeping as a security blanket even after they'd gotten engaged. I can't face anyone right now, she told Fiona as they slipped out the service entrance to avoid lingering guests or, worse, photographers that Dominic's restaurant fame might attract. You don't have to, Fiona assured her. You did in there? That was the bravest thing I've ever seen. 3 days passed in a blur of ignored calls and delivery food. On the 4th morning, Olivia woke to aggressive knocking. Through the peephole, she saw Dominic, unshaven and disheveled. I know you're in there, Liv. Please, 5 minutes. She opened the door, but blocked the entrance. Say what you need to say. It was a stupid comment. I was nervous. You know I love you. His eyes were bloodshot. We can reschedule. Start over. Livia studied him. This man she'd nearly married. That's the thing, Dominic. I don't think you do love me, not really. You love the idea of me, the parts that fit into your life without disrupting it. That's not fair. Maybe not. But when I heard you at the altar, I realized it wasn't just a thoughtless comment. It was a glimpse into how you really see me. She took a deep breath. I deserve more than being someone's punchline or obligation. So that's it? 2 years over because of one bad joke? Olivia shook her head. 2 years over because I finally heard what you've been telling me all along? As she closed the door, the weight of finality settled over her heavy, but somehow less crushing than the weight of compromise had been. Separate paths 6 months transformed the garden terrace of Botanical Impressions Gallery. What had been empty concrete was now a lush showcase of native plants, their structures and patterns echoing the illustrations hanging inside. Olivia adjusted. The lighting on her centerpiece, a triptych of nightshade species rendered in watercolor and ink. The Times reviewer just arrived, whispered Harriet, the gallery owner. And she's already taking notes. Olivia nodded, suppressing the flutter of nerves in her stomach. This solo exhibition represented months of relentless work, the salvation she'd found in returning to her art with renewed purpose. Olivia Reed, a woman with a sleek bob and sharp eyes, approached. I'm Josephine Mercer. Your work is extraordinary, particularly your exploration of beautiful but potentially toxic species. There seems to be a powerful metaphor there. Olivia smiled. Sometimes the most alluring things in life come with warnings we choose to ignore. Across town, Dominic stared at the invoice before him, the numbers blurring. Westwood's, his flagship restaurant, had lost its creative edge. Critics noted the menu had become predictable and lacking inspiration, words that cut deeper than they should have. We need to make decisions about the new location, his business partner Gabriel said. The designer needs final approval on the botanical theme. Frankly, what they've proposed lacks the uniqueness we had when trailed off. But Dominic finished the thought. When Olivia was creating our illustrations, the mention of her name no longer provoked anger, just a hollow ache. Dominic had cycled through the stages of grief for a relationship that had ended so publicly. The restaurant industry gossip had been merciless. Left at the altar, Westwood's bad taste extends beyond the kitchen. I saw her exhibition is opening tonight, Gabriel ventured carefully. Dominic nodded. I know. Will you go? Would you? If you were me, Gabriel considered this. I might. Not to try winning her back or causing a scene. Just to see if understanding what I lost might help me find my way forward. That evening, as champagne flowed at Olivia's gallery opening, Dominic sat alone on his apartment balcony, scrolling through his phone until he found a photo of Olivia from their first date, sketching the unusual herbs in his restaurant's garden. He remembered being struck by her complete absorption in capturing the curl of a sage leaf, oblivious to how beautiful she looked in that moment of pure concentration. He'd missed the point entirely back then, what he'd interpreted as adorable. Quirky behavior was actually the essence of who she was, someone who found wonder in details others overlooked, someone who created beauty from careful observation, someone he'd never truly appreciated until she was gone. Unexpected reflection. Winter settled over the city like a held breath. Olivia pulled her coat tighter, hurrying toward the warmth of Laurel's bookshop, where her illustrated field guide to urban medicinal plants was having its launch party. The pasture had transformed her from a behind-the-scenes illustrator to a recognized artist with her own publication. The shop's bell jingled as she entered. She froze when she saw him, Dominic, examining her book display with such focus he hadn't noticed her arrival. "You can do this," whispered Charlotte, her editor squeezing her elbow. "It's your night." Dominic looked up then, their eyes meeting. Across the crowded shop, a year ago, that gaze had held such familiarity. Now, they were strangers with shared history. He nodded respectfully and stepped back from the display, clearly preparing to leave. "Wait," Olivia found herself saying, surprising them both. "You don't have to go." "I didn't come to intrude," he said. "I saw the announcement, and your work was always extraordinary. I wanted to see what you've created." The absence of his usual charm was striking. This Dominic seemed quieter, more thoughtful. "How have you been?" she asked, the polite question carrying the weight of all that remained unsaid. Honest answer? Learning some hard lessons. Smile was rueful. "The restaurant's doing well, but I've had to reconsider a lot of things about myself." Before she could respond, Charlotte called for everyone's attention, and the formal portion of the evening began. Throughout her presentation, Olivia was acutely aware of Dominic standing at the back, listening intently as she explained the inspiration behind her work, how healing plants often grew in overlooked urban spaces, resilient and valuable, despite being dismissed as weeds. Later, as the crowd thinned, he approached her signing table, placing her book before her. "Would you mind?" he asked. Olivia opened to the title page. Who should I make it out to? To someone who didn't see what was growing right in front of him, Dominic said quietly. Her pen hesitated. "You know, that's not a name. Neither is the old ball and chain. But that's how I referred to you once." His voice was steady, but his eyes held regret. "I've had a lot of time to think about the man I was that day, and every day before it." Olivia studied him, noting the changes, the humility that had replaced his former bravado, the attentiveness with which he listened now. "What would you do differently?" she asked, surprising herself with the question. Dominic considered this. "Carefully, I would have listened more than I spoke. I would have recognized that your quietness wasn't a void to fill with my noise, but a different kind of strength. I would have been a partner, not just a presence." She wrote something in the book and handed it back. When he read it to New Growth Olivia, his eyes met hers with understanding. "Thank you for coming tonight," she said. "Thank you for creating something beautiful from what happened," he replied. "I'm trying to do the same." The weight of choices spring arrived with unexpected opportunities. Olivia's phone buzzed with an email from an international botanical garden requesting her illustrations for their conservation project. The timing was serendipitous. Her apartment lease was ending, offering a clean break if she chose to accept the 6-month residency abroad. She sat in her favorite cafe, weighing the decision, when the chair across from her pulled out. "Mind if I join you?" Dominic asked. Their occasional encounters had evolved from awkward to cautiously friendly over the past 3 months. She gestured to the seat. "How did the new restaurant opening go?" "Better than expected." He stirred his coffee thoughtfully. "We partnered with a community garden program, giving urban kids a chance to grow ingredients we use in our kitchen. That sounds meaningful." "It is, more fulfilling than chasing another favorable review." He glanced up. Offer, congratulations. Olivia tilted her head. News travels fast. Charlotte mentioned it when I commissioned her to help with our garden program's educational materials. The silence between them wasn't uncomfortable anymore, just contemplative. Olivia studied the man before her, still Dominic, but with edges. Softened by humility, his former restlessness replaced by something more grounded. Would you have said yes? She asked suddenly. If I had continued down that aisle, if we had exchanged vows, would any of this growth have happened for either of us? Dominic considered her question with the seriousness it deserved. No, he finally answered. I would have continued being the man who made that thoughtless comment. You would have continued shrinking yourself to accommodate it. His honesty surprised her. When did you become so self-aware? Around the time I lost everything that mattered because I wasn't. He met her gaze directly. I'm not telling you this to try to win you back, Olivia. That's not why I'm here. Then why are you? Because regardless of what happens between us, I needed you to know that what you did that day, choosing yourself, it changed me too. And I'm grateful. Olivia felt the weight of their shared history, not as a burden now, but as a foundation. For something else, perhaps not romance rekindled, but mutual respect hard-won. I'm leaving for Amsterdam next month, she said. The residency is too good to pass up. Dominic nodded. You should go. Your work deserves to be seen everywhere. And after that, I don't know. I might come back here. I might not. Either way, he said, you'll be choosing your path for the right reasons. As they parted outside the cafe, their goodbye held none of the bitterness of their last farewell. Instead, there was recognition of how sometimes the bravest love. The story isn't about two people finding their way back to each other, but finding their way to becoming who they were meant to be with, or without each other. Olivia watched him walk away, feeling neither regret nor longing, but a quiet appreciation for the journey that had brought them both to this moment of completion. She had walked away from a wedding once, but today she was walking toward a future, entirely of her own making, and that she realized was the truest kind of love story, the one where you finally fully choose yourself,